Joining us now, running for mayor, radio talk show host, founder, and longtime purveyor of the Guardian Angels in New York City is our good friend Curtis Sliwa, and he's with us now. Hey, Curtis, thanks for being with us, man.
Pleasure, but this is really a bad time, John. There are so many urban areas we patrol around the country, which the cops have been neutered. They've been told to stand down. The thugs are taking over, and Black Lives Matter is nowhere to be found.
In the month of June, New York City saw a 130% increase in shooting incidents, Curtis, compared to the same time 2019. What is driving this?
What is driving it is a mayor who has decided to handcuff the police. He has disbanded the anti-crime unit, which were the undercover men and women, the most proficient in the world at finding guns, getting them off the streets, and tracking gangbangers. By dissolving that unit, he's basically turned it into a lawless city. And he doesn't seem at all to mind that, because remember, this is all part of the movement to defund, now abolish the police, and abolish prisons. And they couldn't be happier that this is happening because, let's face it, you know what's going to happen, John. The people who are law-abiding, God-fearing, they're going to have enough. You know, many of them, like me, they went through this in the 60s and 70s, never thought this would happen again. It was the reason that I started the Guardian Angels, and now that you see the city coming full cycle, many New Yorkers are going to decide to move down where you are, John, down in Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. They'll go out to Arkansas. They'll go out to Arizona. They'll go to Texas. But the moving vans here are back-to-back, belly-to-belly. People have had it, and that will just leave the city to more of the AOC, all-out crazy acolytes who don't want police and don't want prisons. And you know what that leads to? Anarchy and lawlessness.
What do they plan to do with the criminals? Like they had bail reform. It sounds nice. Oh, we're going to reform bail. What it means is there is no bail, so they just got rid of the whole bail concept. So basically, you get arrested, and you get booked, you do the paperwork, you get let go, and then you commit another crime. And what cops are saying is they're arresting the same people over and over and over again in the same day.
Sure. And those repeat offenders, they are shocked. They are amazed that they get busted on a gun charge after capping shots at either a senior citizen or a child. They figure, okay, that's it. I'm going to be away a few years. And then the judge says, you're not remanded to jail. There's no bail. And it's, you're kidding. This is like better than Lotto. This is like better than Powerball. And they go out and do it again. Then they get arrested by the police. The judge is aware that they've just been released, no bail, on very serious charges. He gives them another court date. Now they've got two charges. And all it is they empower the gangs, and they neuter the cops. And the people who lose in all of this are the people in the inner city, because I've been tracking this on the map. These are the areas that the Guardian Angels patrol, inner city areas, poor, impoverished areas where the black and the brown victims have been black and brown, and the predators have been black and brown. So you want to support Black Lives Matter, which supports abolishing police and abolishing prisons? Why don't you call them instead of 911? See if they'll respond. And you know what their attitude is? Because we're dealing with it right in Washington, D.C., where an 11-year-old African-American boy was shot and killed on July 4th right outside of his house. And it happened to be the grandson of the Guardian Angel chapter leader, an African-American, John Ayala, Unique. And they told him, this is what they told him from the streets, Black Lives Matter. Snitches get stitches and end up in ditches. And he said, aren't you going to help us try to find the suspects who did it? He said, that's police work. Now, wait a second. You don't want the police. You don't want prisons. So it's all about the destruction of our quality of life. It's all about the destruction of the history of America, our culture. And obviously, you know what the root evil is here. They want to destroy capitalism. They want to destroy our way of life. And we're not going to allow that, John. We're standing up to them. We're fighting them every inch of the way. And we're not going to sacrifice or surrender our inner cities to Black Lives Matters, who's never seen in the inner city.
John Fredericks Radio Network, live Washington, D.C. We're with Curtis Sliwa. He's the founder, chairman of the Guardian Angels. He's also a radio talk show host, WABC 77, New York City, biggest talk news station in New York, and he's also candidate for mayor 2021. So de Blasio, well, he's not taking any responsibility for these shootings and these little kids getting shot. We all saw the video of the father with his daughter holding hand in the Bronx crossing the street, gets gunned down, blood all over the little girl. She's running around screaming, scarred for her life. Her dad shot dead in front of her. That goes viral. Here's what de Blasio said. Well, people are frustrated, and, they've been inside with COVID. They're blowing off steam. So I guess now you can blow off steam by going outside and shooting little children. Is that the new de Blasio way, Curtis?
Oh, obviously, anything to distract and deflect from what he's not doing. Imagine you blame it on the pandemic. You blame it on systemic racism. And you say, well, wait a second. If you're blaming it on the pandemic, we were in lockdown since March. It wasn't happening in March. Wasn't happening in April. Wasn't happening in May. It started 40 days ago with these Black Lives Matter demonstrations that the mayor has been in support of. They attacked the police. Who did he defend? The predators, not the police. So he has taken sides in this right now outside of City Hall, which the mayor and the city council people won't go to because of coronavirus. There is a big hammer and sickle that has been painted on the street outside of what they call Occupy City Hall. These are the people who want to abolish the police and abolish prisons, and he has given them a sanctuary, and they have marked their territory with a hammer and a sickle from the old Soviet Union. And that's always been the motivation and agenda of Black Lives Matter. All you got to do is read their manifesto, see who their leaders are, see how they were trained, and yet people say, no, you can't discuss that because Black Lives Matter just is established, as Don Lemon said, to deal with police brutality. That's bull feathers. They have an entire agenda, and when you're in a Black Lives Matter march, look at the signs they're holding up. Abolish police, abolish prisons, abolish ICE, a country with no borders. Is that specific to police brutality? Of course not. That's a national agenda to destroy everything we hold sacrosanct in America.
Well, look at Ilhan Omar, one of the leaders here, the squad, coming out yesterday and saying, look, we have to dismantle the entire U.S. economic system, pull it up from its roots and start over, wipe it clean. She said an incubator for oppression. This has been, since we started tracking numbers, been the greatest economy in the world. And you got Ilhan Omar elected to Congress says we need to dismantle it. I don't know what more evidence you need that these people are just Marxists.
Not only that, but let's look at it. Where is her country of origin? Somalia. Hey, let's see how that's worked out. Warlords battling one another over turf, shooting women, the children, and the elderly on a regular basis. Total anarchy, an economy that has been completely destroyed. Yet Ilhan Omar and her family came to America. Why did she come to America? She could have gone to Europe, could have gone to other parts around the world that would have given her sanctuary as a war refugee. She came to the heartland of America, Minnesota, and now she wants to destabilize the country that she came to? No. The American public, they're sitting at home, chained to their air conditioners now, still sheltered in. They got to be watching this craziness on TV and saying, no, you won't. You're not going to destroy America that we know. Tear down our statues, destroy our culture, destroy our policing, destroy our prisons. That's why I think it's time that Americans stand up and united. We've got to fight them back. For every inch that they have taken and destroyed and desecrated, we've got to take it back from them. We've got to clean it up. We've got to restore the statues. Look, my answer to statues is put up more statues. My answer to hate speech is more free speech. Don't let this cancel culture rule. Mob. It reminds me of Robespierre in the Paris Commune. And remember what happened to Robespierre when all was said and done? They chopped off his head.
Along with many others, letting them eat cake, his head went. No, you're 100% right, Curtis. What is New Yorkers going to do with this guy de Blasio? I mean, he wants no prison. I mean, how do you run a city with no cops, no bail, and no prisons? Like, what does he expect to do about crime? Does he have an alternative plan? What is it?
Oh, yeah. His alternative plan is he hides behind his wife now because she speaks for the mayor. And the other day she said, "Oh, wouldn't it be nirvana if we had no police whatsoever?" They truly believe in their heart of hearts, like they do in Minneapolis, like they do in Seattle, like they do in Portland, like they do now in Chicago with that elected mayoralty, that the answer to this craziness is to send in social workers, crisis intervention officer, violent prevention specialists, and somehow you're going to convince the organized gang members who are like the Hatfields and McCoys battling over drug turf, battling over gang turf, you're going to convince them to put down the guns. Well, guess what? Their cry in the streets is, hands up, don't shoot to the police. Let's see how that works with the gangs, because they're slaughtering young black children all over America. Put your hands up to the gangs, and they'll shoot you dead right in your spot, and they're proving it each and every day. They have concern for the sanctity of life. And look, in their wake, the violence that has left so many young children dead, and Black Lives Matter has no answers for that because they don't care. They don't care.
Well, obviously they don't care about these little children getting shot because I haven't heard, they've made no statement on it. They've done nothing. They've certainly done nothing to bring the perpetrators to justice, and they have the media behind them by not covering it, right? I mean, if the fact that the media, the fake news media, will not even cover this stuff, I mean, it should be on the news 24 hours a day. Like, who are these people that shot these children? I mean, the one little girl got gunned down playing in her grandmother's backyard. I mean, who does this, right? She's 8 years old. Another little girl shot in the backseat of the car when they do one of those drive-bys. She just shot in the head, dead. And, why isn't this on the headlines every day? Why does the fake news make believe it didn't happen? That's my question.
Oh, they would like to believe that, this is just an aberration. This is just a blip in the radar screen. Look at Chop. Look at Chaz in Seattle, right, with the warlord there, with the AK-47 and the guns. And who were the victims of that gun violence? Black people. Look at Atlanta, where they had the same Black Lives Matter gunmen take over that area around Wendy's. And who got shot and killed? An 8-year-old African-American girl in the seat of her car with her mother at her side. Finally, the mayor was motivated to say, we've got to stop this madness. Well, guess what? Your experiment has been a dismal failure. Madam Mayor in Seattle, it has not been the summer of love. It's been the summer of bloodshed. And the people who have been killed by black predators are black victims, and they can fit their narrative. It does not fit their narrative.
Unbelievable. Curtis Sliwa, I don't know what the answer is. I know you're running for mayor. You've just got to keep fighting this. I mean, the fact that de Blasio passed another budget or slashed $1 billion in funding from the police, and shootings are up, and then he blames COVID-19.
The answer is simply this, John. They want us to move out. They want us to abandon the cities, the major metropolitan areas, L.A., Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., Baltimore. I've always said from 1979 when I started the Guardian Angels, improve, don't move. Fight for what you know is right. We're going to have to do more with less. But we have got to be prepared. In this country, the land of the free, the home of the brave, we worship that flag that unites us. We don't bend, we don't bow, we don't take a knee to our flag. And most importantly, if we are going to continue to be the land of the free and the home of the brave, John, then some of us have to show that we are brave, and we're going to go out there and take on the enemy. And the enemy is within. It's domestic terrorists who want to destroy our way of life.
Curtis, I've only got a couple minutes here, but this idea that they're going to push business owners out, reasonable people that, want police safety, they just want to live in a civilized society, pushing them out of the cities, making them go to, like where I am, Virginia, West Virginia, South Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, push them out. What do they have remaining? I mean, who's going to pay the taxes? Who's going to create the jobs? I mean, if they push everybody out, what happens to these cities? How do they survive?
Before, more homelessness, more despair, more of the emotionally
Well,
disturbed.
there's
roaming
no
the
money to
streets.
pay taxes. So, what is their goal? I mean, what kind of a city do they want? Like, what? Explain to us of pushing everybody out. If that's their
With the
goal,
cause-
what do they want to end up with?
You know what causes revolution as a student of history. When people don't have food, when they don't have resource, when they don't have a roof over their head, they go into the streets and they get involved in armed insurrection and revolt. That is their goal. When people have full bellies and they have televisions and air conditioning and they got a job and they can raise their families, they're not interested in revolution. They're not interested in toppling the system, in this case, capitalism. So their ranks can swell and they can destroy this beloved country of ours. That's their bottom line. And look, as a student of history, it's worked before.
Right. No, you're right, Curtis. You're spot on. I mean, bail reform becomes just let them go. And remember, it was a few months ago we closed Rikers Island. Now they want to close prisons. So if you're a criminal, you don't have to post bail and you don't go to jail. So what do they do with you? Put you in like a rehab program?
Of course, there are no consequences. You'll go to some high-paid shrink that gets paid with the few tax dollars that remain to try to figure out why all the furniture is upstairs and rearranged in the wrong rooms. They'll give you some therapy. You'll go out. You commit more crimes. They'll send you back to therapy. And the people of our cities throughout America will no longer be safe. And this is a warning to people in rural areas and suburban areas. First, they came for the property. Then they came for the product by rioting and looting. Next, they come for the people. So prepare, defend yourself, because if you don't defend yourself now, you're not going to have the police to do it. So Americans are just going to have to own up to the fact that we've got an enemy within who wants to destroy our quality of life, and we got to fight for what we know is right. We've done it before. We can do it again.
Curtis Sliwa, I want to thank you for being with us. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you. It's always good to have you with us here on the John Fredericks Show. Good luck in your run for mayor. We're going to keep everybody posted.
We'll continue our battle right across the 50 states of America on behalf of the people.